The hall looked like evening sunlight had come inside to sit down and rest because the walls were decorated with soft peach drapes and the fairy lights hid behind them like shy stars. The band played gentle high life music that made even the chairs look romantic, and at the center table sat the couple of the night, Uncle Buchi and Auntie Amaka, holding hands as if the whole world was a little slippery and they did not want to lose each other by mistake. The seats were filled with people who came in from different cities and from different seasons of life, making the room almost feel like a big family album that had been opened to a page called Sweetness, and every picture on that page was breathing. Then the MC took the mic and said, "Welcome to 25 years of loving sweetness." The room answered with a soft chorus of "ah," and several singles at the side actually pressed their chest and whispered, "Oh God, when?" The MC clapped once and beamed. To celebrate this kind of love, we invited 4 couples who taste like different flavors of marriage. Please, when you see them, don't faint from sweetness. The doors opened and the first pair, Afunwa and Nello, entered like a calm dove. Afunwa's hands was resting at Nello's waist, whose eyes were bright and soft at the same time. People were stern and whispered, "That is the businessman from Enugu," and someone added, "I heard his wife still writes love notes and hides them in his luggage." As they reached the celebrants, Nello bent and hugged Auntie Amaka. "Auntie, 25 looks beautiful on your hands," she said sweetly as she squeezed her hands. Auntie Amaka smiled. "And you, remember to hold even on days when you do not feel like holding." Afunwa bowed slightly to Uncle Buchi. "Sir, thank you for proving that leadership at home is not by speech, it is a daily act." The second couple, Ade and Ewa, entered with laughter following them as if laughter was their child. Ade wore a cream agbada that looked chiefly, while Ewa wore a blue Iro and Buba that loved the lights. And as they walked, Ade leaned close and murmured, "Don't step on my toes, oh." Ewa murmured back, "If I do, it is because your shoes are too fine." And they both giggled as if they were hiding a private rainbow. The third couple, Osaho and Ivie, came from a premature thunder. They both looked elegant and a little dangerous, the way passion can be, and anyone who noticed their eyes could tell they had probably argued in the car about who took longer to dress and then forgiven each other at the door. Ivie kissed Auntie Amaka's cheek and said, "Teach me how to be soft without losing fire." Auntie Amaka patted her hand. "Be the fire that warms, not the kind of fire that burns." The last couple, Adure and Liam, walked in like closing prayer. Their fingers brushed against each other as if their hearts were shy and happy. Some aunties blinked because they remembered Adure's single wild season long ago. Yet, when they saw the way Liam leaned his head to hear her smallest words, their hearts softened. Uncle Buchi drew them both into a warm hug. "Welcome, children. Redemption is a beautiful tailor. It fits love very well." The MC waved his hand. "Hello! Now, because love is sweet but honesty is sweeter, we will play a little game. Each couple has 2 minutes to tell the true story of how they met." He pointed at Afunwa and Nello first. Nello smiled and took the mic. "We met at a charity book fair I organized in a university. He bought every single book on my table." The hall laughed. Afunwa raised one hand. "I did not need the book, so I only needed her attention. And when I carried her boxes to her car later, I knew I wanted to carry anything heavy for her for the rest of my life." Just then, a single lady found herself and exclaimed, "God, when?" Another lady added, "God, if I am a spoon, let a man use me to lick ice cream and call me beloved." The MC wheezed. "Please, guys, control your metaphors." Ade and Ewa stepped forward. Ade announced, We met because her jollof rice defeated me. People laughed and Ewa nodded proudly. I was selling food by the roadside. He came that morning and said his wallet forgot him at home. Well, I told him he could pay me with dishwashing. Ewa looked at Ade and shook her head. Can you believe that this man washed the plates as if they were gates to heaven? Ade shook his head and confessed, my heart was not clean because love had already stained it. So the plates had to suffer. A chorus rose from the singles corner. God, if I am small change, let somebody keep me safely in their wallet of affection. Amen. Osaho and Evie came next. Evie tilted her head and said, he corrected my grammar in a group chat. The room gaps. And yet you married him? Osaho confessed. I corrected the sentence because I could not correct the bigger mistake, which was my heartbeat every time she entered the room. Take me! A single man cried dramatically, holding his shirt. I am ready for romance arrests. Adure and Liam took the mic next. Adure's voice was soft. I met him on a day I did not like myself. I had walked into the small art gallery to breathe. He stood in front of a painting of a beach at dusk and said, this looks like forgiveness. I replied him, I hope it is on sale. We laughed and my soul escaped running. Liam cleared his throat. I did not buy the painting. I asked for something better. He looked at Adure. I asked for her Saturday afternoons, her honest stories and her smiles. The gallery said yes. Sweet silence fell over the hall. Then someone cried dramatically, God, if I am a door, let love open me gently. The program moved like a well-behaved river and everyone had enough to eat and drink. At the main table, Auntie Amaka told a story. On our 12th anniversary, your uncle here forgot and I forgave him with fasting and a big bucket of beans mixed with stones which he had to select. Uncle Buchi laughed and added, and on our 15th anniversary, she forgot. So we ate leftover rice and stew, then we slept early. We have been remembering it since then. Marriage is amnesia about offenses and memory about choosing, Auntie Amaka concluded, and people nodded like students hearing a simple, perfect lesson. The band began their performance and couples drifted to the dance floor. Afunwa drew Nello close and asked, am I holding you tightly enough? Hold me like there is no tomorrow, Nello whispered. Ade counted under his breath. 1, 2, 1, 2. Ewa, don't practice with my toes now. Ewa teased as they dance. If your toes suffer for me, they will not complain now. At the side, Osaho tried to lead, but Evie wanted to lead. Then they both laughed and swapped places in the cutest battle anyone had ever seen. Evie muttered, cancel, I object to your reading. Objection overruled, Osaho declared mockingly. Adu replaced her forehead on Liam's chin and smiled. Thank you for learning my language. Liam nodded. I am still learning. Good thing I have you to teach me forever. Adure laughed. Just say my name slowly. And Liam did. Adaure, like a toddler. After the dance, the MC rang a bell. Hello, we are going to play one final game. Usher, bring out the golden spoon of sweetness. And Usher carried a shiny spoon on a cushion and the MC declared, the couple with the best one-liner promise wins the game. He pointed, Afunwa, you go first. Afunwa looked at Nello and said passionately, I will build houses for the world, but I will live inside your smile. Passion! The crowd exclaimed. The MC moved to Ade. Ade squeezed Ewa's fingers and grinned. We may eat beans today and bread tomorrow, but I will not eat alone. Amen! Someone shouted from the crowd. The MC laughed and continued. Osaho started playfully. Your Majesty, I will argue with the world, but I will rest my case on your chest. People stood up and stamped their feet. Bam! This one enter. Then finally, the MC turned to Liam. Liam stared at Adure as if the hall had shrunk to 2 people. If storms come, I will hold the umbrella. If the umbrella breaks, I will be your roof. A single lady leaned back in her chair and cried, God, if I am an umbrella, let a faithful man hold me in the rain and never forget me in his car. The whole crowd collapsed in laughter and tears. The MC then turned to Auntie Amaka, judge of sweetness. Who wins the spoon? Auntie Amaka pretended to think and then smiled. Give it to all of them. Love is not a competition. She turned to the couples. Please feed each other cake with it. And they all did. Afunwa held the spoon as if it was an award, and Nello laughed and bowed playfully before accepting it. Ade pretended to miss Ewa's mouth and she pinched his shoulder. Ivia raised a brow like a queen receiving tribute, and Osaho saluted before feeding her. Adure guided Liam's hand and said, gentle, and he was. Next, the slideshow began to show pictures of Uncle Buchi and Auntie Amaka from long ago. Everyone was invested in their humble beginnings, which started with cheap rings, new baby, rainy bus stops, burnt stew, repaired roof, graduation robes, hospital corridors, silent prayers at sunrise, silly dancing in the kitchen, and now grandchildren with missing teeth. People dabbed their eyes without shame. A young man in the singles row even said, if this is what love is, I am ready to apply. And the girl next to him nodded. God, if I am a small plant, give me a gardener husband with kind hands. The MC smiled and took the microphone. Before we close, let's receive small blessing from the celebrants. Uncle Buchi stood and looked around the room slowly. The way a man looks when he has counted his treasures and found them all present. Marriage is a long hand, he said. It holds on birthdays. It holds in traffic. It holds in bank queues. It holds at the hospital. It holds when there is money and when there is only faith. Tonight, please go home and hold tight. Auntie Amaka nodded. And when you cannot hold with hands, please hold with words. At the back, a group of singles leaned together and chorused like a choir of hopefuls. God, when? God, if I am a plantain, let a man fry me golden brown. God, if I am a door, let the right love knock kindly. God, if I am a playlist, let my own person put me on repeat. They giggled at themselves, yet nobody mocks them because everyone understood. The following morning after the anniversary, Nello woke up before dawn. She lay quietly watching the rise and fall of Afunwa's chest as he slept beside her. The large bedroom was silent, but her heart was noisy. She remembered the way Uncle Buchi and Auntie Amaka had held hands all night, and the way they looked at each other as if the world could end tomorrow. Nello sighed and turned to the other side. Do I still have that with Afunwa? She knew her husband loved her. He was a good man, faithful and generous, but sometimes it felt like his heart was divided between her and his endless meetings. When Afunwa stirred, she smiled and whispered, "Good morning, my love." Afunwa blinked and then smiled back. "Good morning, Nello. Did you sleep well?" "Not much," she admitted. Afunwa frowned and sat up. "Are you unwell?" She hesitated. "No, I am just thinking." "What are you thinking about?" Afunwa asked. "About Saturday, about Uncle Buchi and Auntie Amaka, about how even after 25 years of marriage, he still held her hand like a teenager." "Afunwa, when was the last time you held my hand in public without being distracted by a phone call?" Afunwa smiled, even though guilt filled his eyes. "Is that why you couldn't sleep?" "Nello, you know I love you. I may not hold your hand in front of the whole world every day, but you live inside my hand." Nello gave him a long look. "You are a businessman." That was a business answer. Afunwa laughed louder and shook his head. "Nello, Nello, you always know how to catch me." Nello turned serious again. "I don't want only gifts and travels, Afunwa. I want presents. Sometimes I feel like you give the world your best and I get the leftovers." Silence stretched between them. Finally, Afunwa reached for her hand and squeezed it. "Forgive me. I did not know I was making you feel that way." "You didn't notice?" Nello asked. "I noticed you've been quieter, but I thought it was stress from the children. I thought love could cover the silence. Nello sighed. Love is not only about covering, Afunwa. It is about noticing. You must notice me. Afunwa looked at her steadily. Then I will start noticing louder. I'll prove it to you. Later that evening, Afunwa cancelled 2 meetings and returned home early. The children were in the garden chasing bubbles. He walked past them and went straight to Nello in the kitchen. She was cutting vegetables. "My queen," he said dramatically and bowed low. Nello raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing?" "I am practicing presence," he grinned. "Do you want me to chop onions?" Nello laughed. "You chop onions? You will cry like a widow before the knife touches the first one." "Then let me cry," Afunwa said and rolled up his sleeves. "If I cry, I will cry into your shoulder." The children ran in giggling. Their son pointed and laughed. "Daddy is cooking." "Mommy, is it April Fool?" Nello laughed. "Your father wants to impress me." Afunwa picked up the knife and tried to slice confidently, but the onion fumes hit his eyes immediately. He blinked furiously and tears came pouring. "Ah, Nello, this onion is wicked. Why does it hate men?" Nello laughed so hard that she had to sit down. "You see, I warned you." Still wiping his eyes, Afunwa gave her the knife. "Fine, you win, but at least I tried." Presence achieved. Nello softened and watched him lean against the counter. "You don't need to cry over onions to prove anything. Just be here. Just look at me the way you are looking now." Afunwa stepped closer and brushed her cheek with his thumb. "Like you are the only thing worth seeing." "Yes," Nello smiled shyly. "Then I'll keep looking," Afunwa said. That weekend, he kept his promise. He ignored his phone and took the family swimming. At the poolside, he stayed beside Nello, watching the children splash. Then he suddenly asked, "Do you remember our honeymoon?" "How can I forget?" Nello laughed. "You booked that tiny resort in Calabar and it rained every day. And yet we were happy," Afunwa said. "No meetings, no phones, just us and the rain." Nello looked at him softly. "We can still have that." "Yes," Afunwa nodded. "Let's start today. Let's build a new honeymoon inside this ordinary Saturday." Nello smiled and rested her head on his shoulder as the children laughed in the water, and the singers watching from nearby sunbeds whispered among themselves, "God, when? If I am a pool, let my husband dive into me with joy. If I am a towel, let him wrap me gently." As for Ade and Ewa, they returned to their small 2-bedroom flat in Ibadan after their anniversary. They lived in a noisy compound where children played 10-10 in the corridor and neighbors argued about electricity bills louder than radio presenters. Their home did not have marble floors or chandeliers, but it had laughter, the kind that comes from 2 people who had decided to be teammates no matter what life served. That morning, Ewa was in the kitchen stirring a pot of beans when Ade entered, tying his old towel around his waist. He sniffed the air dramatically and smiled. "Ewa, my beauty, is this beans or perfume you are cooking? Even angels will be lining up outside to collect one plate." Ewa rolled her eyes but smiled. "Keep joking. You know it is only beans we can afford this week, Abi." Ade sat on a low stool and shrugged. "Beans or no beans, as long as I eat with you, it tastes like jollof rice." Ewa laughed. "Flatterer, you think sweet words will make me forget that you promised to fix the leaking tap last week?" Ade covered his face. "Ah, I am guilty, oh." "Sentence me, my judge." "Your sentence is to fetch water from the well until further notice," Ewa teased. He stood and knelt dramatically, holding her hand. Mercy now. I appeal to the court of love. Ewa me, fine like morning dew, soft like fresh amala. Spare me." Ewa burst into laughter, almost peeling the beans. "Stand up, Jare, before you disgrace me in front of the neighbors." However, that evening, Ade returned home looking more serious. He had just been laid off from his job at the printing press, and the moment he walked in, Ewa sensed it. "What happened?" she asked. He sighed. "They let me go. They said business is slow. I don't even know how we will manage next month's rent." Ewa came to sit beside him and took his hands. "Ade, don't look like that. You have hands, you have mind, and you have me. We will manage." Ade shook his head. I am supposed to provide. You deserve more than beans and rent troubles. Ewa sighed. Ade, I did not marry you for mansion. I married you because you make even beans taste like party food. Ade looked at her surprised. You are not angry. Ewa smiled. If poverty comes today, it will sit on our couch and still finds us laughing. At that, Ade laughed through his sadness. You are dangerous. You will make me love you more when I should be worried. Then love me more, Ewa said. 2 weeks later, Ade tried his hand at fish farming. He started with a borrowed tank in their backyard, and every evening, Ewa would join him to feed the fingerlings. One night, as they stood by the tank, she whispered into his ears, see how they rush for food. That is how I rush for you. Ade laughed so loud that the neighbors peeped from their windows. Ewa, if you rush me like this fish, then I am the luckiest man in Ibadan. Their neighbor Mama Shade shook her head dramatically. This your husband? Now only laughing they give you. Better pray oh. Laughter cannot pay school fees. Ewa turned with pride and said, Mama Shade, laughter may not pay school fees, but it heals the heart, and healing is wealth too. Ade squeezed her hand secretly and whispered, you have just defeated gossip with wisdom. Let me reward you with roasted corn later. Corn? Ewa giggled. Ade, if romance was currency, you would be a billionaire by now. 1 month later, Ade's small fish venture began to grow. He sold his first harvest and brought home a little envelope of money. He placed it in Ewa's hands with a smile. It is not millions, but it is a start. Ewa opened the envelope, looked at the money, and then at him. Ade, this is better than diamonds. This is sweat turned into hope. Ade exhaled in relief. Ewa, you stood by me when I had nothing, when the laughter was not enough, when the neighbors mocked us. You still cooked beans with joy. I will never forget. Ewa cupped his face. Forget what people say. If I can share poverty with you, then I can share wealth when it comes. My love is not seasonal. At that, Ade pulled her into a tight embrace and she whispered against his chest, you see, Ade, money may buy mattress, but it cannot buy the way your heartbeat makes me sleep at night. That weekend, they went for a neighborhood birthday party, and while other couples boasted of new cars and fine lace, Ade and Ewa sat together under a tree, eating puff-puff from one plate. Every time he offered her a piece, she bit half and fed him the rest. Singles walking past stopped to stare at them. These were two people with very little, yet they were laughing as if they owned the world. One single girl sighed loudly, God, when? If I am puff-puff, let a man divide me in half and share with love. Another one muttered, if I am beans, let him stir me gently in a pot of happiness. Their laughter filled everywhere, and even the singles could not deny that these two possessed something rare. They had a marriage without much money, but overflowing with love that made poverty look small. Meanwhile, the third couple, Osaho and Ivie's love, was the type that looked glamorous on the outside but carried fire on the inside. They lived in Benin City in a stylish duplex that always smelled of Ivie's expensive perfumes and Osaho's leather law files. They had money, they had class, they had passion, but they also had tempers. Whenever they quarreled, the whole compound knew, because Ivie's voice would climb to heaven and Osaho's silence could bend steel. One Saturday afternoon, Ivie paced the living room in her silk robe with her eyes blazing. She called sharply, Osaho. Osaho came downstairs and asked, yes, what is it? Ivie waved her phone at him. Who is this woman you've been dropping at Ubowo every evening? Don't lie to me, Osaho. Someone told me they saw you last week. Osaho raised his brows calmly like a judge. Ivie, is this another of your suspicions? Ivie snapped. Suspicions? You think I am blind? People are talking. A married man carrying strange women. Osaho stopped her. Ivie, that strange woman is my cousin, Eloho. She came from abroad and she's helping me set up the legal aid project. You could have asked me before setting fire with gossip. Well, Ivie wasn't convinced. She crossed her arms and scoffed. You always have explanations every time. Cousins. I am your wife, not a client. I deserve the truth. And I am your husband, not a criminal. Osaho shot back. You believe neighbors before you even believe me. They stared at each other, both stubborn and both breathing hard. Finally, Ivie burst into frustrated tears. Osaho, I don't want to lose you. If you are hiding something, I would rather hear it from you than from the world. Osaho's face softened. He came closer and cupped her face. Ivie, you will never lose me. Do you know what I've been hiding? It's a surprise for you. Ivie blinked in suspicion. What kind of surprise? Come, Osaho said and took her hand despite her resistance. He drove her across the city to a calm street. When they stopped, she saw a beautiful new building with a signboard that read Ivie's Heaven Women Empowerment Center. Her mouth fell open. What is this? Osaho smiled. This is what my strange cousin has been helping me finalize. You've always talked about helping women who cannot afford lawyers. Now you have your own center. It opens next month. It's my gift to you. Ivie turned to him in shock. You mean all this time? All this time, Osaho nodded. I was building something in your name, not building another woman. Ivie covered her face and cried harder. Osaho, please forgive me. I doubted you. My mouth is too sharp. My suspicion is too much. Osaho pulled her into his arms. And my pride is too strong. My silence is too heavy. But Ivie, fire can burn or it can warm. Let's choose to be the fire that warms. Ivie nodded against his chest. Then hold me tight before I melt completely. That evening, back home, Ivie cooked her special pepper soup as a peace offering. While they ate, she teased, if you ever hide another surprise from me, make sure it comes with diamonds too. He laughed and shook his head. Your tongue will not kill me. But you love this tongue now, Ivie grinned. Yes, Osaho admitted, because it is the same tongue that says I love you in the morning. Later that Sunday at church, as they danced during praise and worship, neighbors who knew them shook their heads. This couple, they are always fighting like cat and dog, but always finding their way back. And from the singles corner, someone whispered, God, if I am pepper soup, let my partner drink me gently and still enjoy me. Another one sighed, if I am firewood, let my husband's love turn me into warmth, not smoke. The last couple, Adure and Liam, lived in a fine estate in Abuja. From the outside, they looked like the perfect glossy picture, an African woman blending with an Irish man. But behind that perfection were gossips. People remembered Adure's past. In her youthful days, she had been wild. She kept late nights, made reckless choices, and now, seeing her married to a white man, many shook their heads and sneered. It will not last. She has trapped him with her beauty temporarily. When he sees her true nature, he will run. Adure knew what they always said. Sometimes, after greeting a group of aunties at the market, she would hear one whisper just loud enough for her ears. Now this Adure, imagine. Evil girl of yesterday now acting good wife. God help that man. Adore would return home heavy, pretending to be fine. But Liam always noticed. One evening, as she made soup in the kitchen, he walked in and wrapped his arms around her waist. Why are your eyes red? He asked. I'm fine, Adure said, quickly forcing a smile. He tilted her chin. Adure, don't do that. Tell me. Adure's voice broke. They don't believe in me, Liam. They think you made a mistake. They said I am too wild, too broken, too... Enough, Liam said. You are not too anything. You are mine. Tears gathered in her eyes. But don't you ever wonder that maybe they are right? Liam shook his head. No, you are not the woman of your past. You are the woman who laughed with me in that gallery, who prays with me every night, who teaches me Igbo proverbs and corrects my tone until I sound like a confused parrot. Adore laughed and pushed his shoulder. You do sound funny sometimes. and you still kiss me anyway, he grinned. However, the biggest test came one Sunday after church. Adure's uncle, who was stern and suspicious, cornered Liam at the car park. Mr. Liam, do you even know the woman you married? Or did you just fall for her face? We know her history. A woman like that cannot change. She's always for the streets. Adure froze in shock. She wanted to beg, uncle, please. But Liam stepped forward and cut it off. Sir, with all due respect, I did not marry Adure's history. I married her heart, and her heart is gold. If you cannot see that, then it is your blindness, not her fault. The car park grew silent. Even the ushers stopped arranging chairs to look. Adure's uncle sputtered, "You dare talk back?" "Yes," Liam said, and slipped his arm around Adure's waist. "Because love is not cowardly. I will stand for her until my last breath. If she was once broken, then I am honored to be the man who helps her heal." Adure's eyes became teary. She pressed her forehead to his arm and said, "Liam, stop before I drown in tears here." Liam smiled down at her. "I will stop when you finally believe me." That night, Adure cooked her best jollof rice and fried plantain, and as they ate, she said, "You didn't have to defend me like that in front of everyone, but you did. Why?" Liam shook his head thoughtfully, then looked straight at her. "Because love that hides is not love. If I cannot stand for you in public, then what am I doing with you in private?" Adure reached across the table and held his hand. "I love you, Liam." "I love you too," he said, and then grinned. "Now please stop burning the plantain. Love can forgive many things, but burnt plantain is pushing the limits." Adore threw a napkin at him and laughed until her belly hurts. 2 months later, Liam surprised her. He had been secretly learning Igbo from a tutor, and at a family gathering, he stood up with confidence and raised his cup. "To my wife, Adure," he said in thick but charming Igbo. "Ọmama saho, elewu kwebu ewu, achalugo, ugodia, nwanyi kibe ya, munagige be forever." The room erupted with laughter. Adu recovered her face in embarrassment and delight. "Where did he learn that from?" she whispered. Liam then finished in clear English. "What I mean is, I am proud of you. You are my gift from God, and no past mistake can change my present joy." Adure's eyes shone like glass. She embraced him and whispered, "Liam, you make me believe in love again." And from the singles corner, their choo-choo-choo began. "God, when? If I am jollof rice, let my husband defend me even when I burn. God, if I am a goat, let him still call me Jewel. God, if I am a proverb, let him learn me patiently until he gets it right." Unfortunately, the sweetness of their marriage had barely settled before life reminded each couple that love is not a fairy tale but a daily battle. One Thursday morning, Afunwa was on a business call in his study, commanding and deliberating. Nello entered quietly with a tray of food, but he waved her away absent-mindedly. "Just give me 10 minutes, he mouthed. Nello sighed and left with the food. Hours later, when he finally came to eat, the food was cold. Nello sat in the living room with her arms crossed. He tried to joke, "My queen, are we fasting together?" But Nello's eyes flashed. "Afunwa, you promised me presents, not cold food and half listening." Afunwa softened immediately. "I failed again, didn't I?" "Yes," Nello nodded amidst tears. "Sometimes I wonder if the business is your real wife." Afunwa took her hands and smiled. "Then, let me divorce the business tonight." He turned off his phone completely and pushed it into the drawer. For the next 3 days, no calls, just you. Nello blinked in surprise. "Are you serious?" "That's serious," he said. "If the world collapses because I love my wife, then let it collapse." Her lips curved into a smile. "Then let it collapse beautifully." Meanwhile, in Ibadan, Ade and Ewa's fish business had its first disaster. Heavy rains flooded the small tank and half the fish floated lifeless by morning. Ewa sat by the tank crying, "All our efforts gone. What will we eat now?" Ade knelt beside her and held her hand. "Ewa, don't cry. We still have each other." Ewa shook her head. "Love cannot cook soup, Ade. We need money." Ade's heart squeezed at her words. For the first time, fear entered his voice. Are you saying you regret marrying me? Ewa's eyes widened. No, never. I am only scared. I don't regret you, Ade. You are the only thing I am sure of. Ade heaved a sigh of relief and pulled her into his arms. Then, let's start again. We will borrow fingerlings from Uncle Tayo. We will clean the tank. We will not give up. Ewa wiped her tears. You always make me laugh even in sorrow. Ade, if love was food, we would never go hungry. Ade smiled and pressed his forehead to hers. Then, let's eat love until the fish come back. In Benin, Osaho and Ivie's fire returned after a short moment of peace. At a dinner with colleagues, one of Osaho's female associates laughed too loudly at his jokes, and Ivie's eyes narrowed like sharpened glass. On their drive home, she exploded. So now, you tell jokes only other women understand? You ignored me the whole night, Osaho. Osaho gripped the wheel. Ivie, must everything be war? She's my colleague, nothing more. Should I hold her mouth from laughing? Ivie rolled her eyes. I don't like sharing your attention, not even with laughter. Osaho slowed the car, parked by the roadside, and turned to her. Ivie, listen to me. You are my only audience. Every joke I tell outside is just practice for home. If I lost your laughter, I would lose my rhythm. Ivie's anger melted. She tried to look away, but he touched her chin gently. Smile for me, my fire, please. A reluctant smile crept onto her lips. You and your sweet tongue. Sweet tongue for my sweet queen, Osaho said and kissed her hand before continuing the drive. And then, in Abuja, Adure's test came from her own family. One afternoon, her mother visited unannounced. She looked at Liam and shook her head. White men don't stay for long. He will leave you. You better prepare yourself. Adure's heart dropped. Mama, please. But Liam stood up and explained. Mama, I know I cannot change your fears overnight, but I promise you this. I am not here for a season. I am here for a lifetime. If you doubt me, then test me. Watch me. I will not run. Her mother stared at him, surprised by his firmness. Adure held his arm. You didn't have to say all that. Liam shook his head. I did, because love must be louder than doubts. That night, Adu recalled in his chest and said, every time you defend me, my scars heal a little more. Liam smiled. And every time you trust me, my love grows stronger roots. The following weekend, by coincidence, all four couples attended a marriage and family event in Lagos. They sat at the same table, each carrying their private storms. Ewa whispered to Nello, marriage is not beans, my sister. Sometimes it is stone. Nello squeezed her hand and smiled. True, but stone can build a house if you don't throw it away. Ivie leaned in and smirked. At least your husbands don't have colleagues laughing like hyenas at their jokes. Adure laughed. At least yours are not fighting uncles at the car park. The women looked at one another and then burst into laughter, realizing that they were all carrying crosses in different shapes. Across the table, the men watched in confusion. Ade asked, should we be scared? Osaho shook his head. No, when women laugh together, it means we are safe for now. Liam raised his glass to surviving storms, Afunwa added, and to holding tighter when it rains. The clinking of glasses were soft, but it carried weight. The singles seated nearby looked on with open mouths and tilted their head emotionally. God, when? If I am rain, let my husband carry umbrella and still hold my hand. God, if I am beans, let him add pepper and eat me with joy. God, if I am laughter, let my marriage never lose me. On Friday evening, Afunwa called all his staff and told them that he would be unreachable until Monday. With his phones off and laptop closed, he walked into the living room carrying a bouquet of fresh roses. Nello gasped, what is this? He smiled. A weekend honeymoon. No business, no meetings, just you and me. Nello laughed. In Enugu with 3 children shouting in the house. Afunwa grinned and swung a key in her face. That is why I booked us a small resort just outside the city. Grandma is taking the kids for 2 days. Nello's eyes widened. Are you serious? Deadly serious, Afunwa replied. Pack a bag, Nello. This weekend, your husband belongs to you alone. At the resort, he cooked for her. Well, badly. The rice burned. The stew was too salty, but when he served it with pride, she laughed until tears rolled down her cheeks. His food is a crime, she joked. Then sentence me, he said, and bowed down. Nello shook her head, still laughing. Life is sweet with you, Afunwa, even when the stew is not. That night, under the stars, he whispered, no business in this world will ever be more important than you. Nello squealed. Then, I am rich already. They uploaded their vacation pictures on Instagram and singles watching shook their head. God, if I am stew, let him eat me even if I am salty. God, when? Fortunately, back in Ibadan, Ade's second round of fish farming finally succeeded. On harvest day, he brought Ewa outside to see the tank full of healthy fish. Beauty, we did it! He shouted and held one fish up. Ewa squealed, put it back before it slaps you. Ade laughed and dropped it back in. See, I told you poverty cannot kill us. Love is fertilizer. It makes everything grow. Ewa shook her head, smiling. Ade, you and your mouth. But I will admit, this is a miracle. Ade knelt in front of her. Not miracle, my queen. Your patience, your prayers, and your stubbornness. You believed in me even when I doubted myself. Ewa blinked back tears and then teased. Stand up before neighbors think you are proposing again. Let them think, oh, Ade grinned, still kneeling. Every day with you deserves a new proposal. From the balcony, their single neighbor sighed. God, when? Even if I am a fish, let him feed me every day until I grow. Over there in Benin, Osaho surprised Evie with a candlelit dinner in their backyard. Just him, 2 plates and soft music. Evie raised an eyebrow. What's the occasion? Peace, Osaho said. I don't want fire to burn us. I want it to warm us. Evie's lips softened. You are trying. I am not trying, Osaho corrected. I am choosing. I choose you, Evie, every day. Even when you quarrel like a hurricane. Evie laughed, finally letting go. And I choose you, even when you act like a stubborn judge. Later, when he teased her about being jealous, she admitted, I know, I just don't want to share your laughter with anyone else. And Osaho nodded. Then it is settled. My jokes belong to you alone. From the neighbor's windows, someone sighed. God, even if I am a joke, let him never tell me secondhand. God, when? One Saturday afternoon in Abuja, Adure returned home from the saloon to find her living room transformed with red and white balloons. Family members gathered and Liam standing with a microphone in hand. What is this? She asked in surprise. Liam smiled. A vow renewer. You married me once, but I want to marry you again. This time, in front of everyone who doubted. Adure's mother sat in the corner, shocked but watching intently. Liam looked into her eyes. Adure, people talk about your past, but I only see your present. You gave me laughter. You gave me strength, and I want to keep choosing you loudly forever. Adure's tears flowed freely. Liam, you didn't have to do all this. I did, Liam said, because love is not private shame, it is public pride. Adure's mother stood up slowly, walked forward and placed her hand on Adure's shoulder. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you have found true love. Adure cried openly and hugged Liam tight. Thank you for proving me worthy. Liam kissed her forehead. You were always worthy. You just needed someone to shout it loud enough. From the cousins and aunties watching, voices rose. God, if I am a vow, let him renew me again and again. God, even if I am a balloon, let him fill me with air of joy. God, when? Oh, 6 months after the big anniversary, Uncle Buchi and Auntie Amaka invited the 4 couples to a private restaurant for a Thanksgiving dinner. The first celebration had been grand, but this one was intimate with a family table spread with steaming jollof rice, roasted chicken, pepper soup and laughter. Auntie Amaka spoke up as everyone settled down. This dinner is not about 25 years. It is about the sweet marriages that reminded us, even as old couples, that love is not enough. When it was Afunwa's turn to speak, he stood tall holding Nello's hand. People think wealth is the sugar in marriage. He shook his head. But sugar without bread is just ants. Presence is the bread. I almost forgot that, but my wife reminded me. Nello squeezed his hand and added, now I know my husband can switch off the world for me, even if it means burning stew in a resort kitchen. The table laughed and the single waitress sighed. God, if I am bread, let my man switch off the world and butter me with love. Ade stood next and cleared his throat dramatically. Ladies and gentlemen, when our fish project died, I thought our marriage would starve, but my Ewa said, we will eat love until fish comes back. And true to her words, fish came back. Ewa smiled shyly. We are not rich, but our laughter makes poverty look confused. Then Osaho and Evie rose, fiery as ever. Osaho said, my wife is both fire and crown. If you see me sweating, it is because I live in a furnace. Evie rolled her eyes playfully. Don't mind him. The furnace is warm enough to keep him from catching cold. Everyone laughed until their bellies hurt. But then Osaho grew serious. In truth, passion can destroy if not guided. But when fire decides to warm instead of burn, it makes love unforgettable. Finally, Liam stood with Adure beside him. They said my wife's past would ruin us, but the only thing her past did was teach me to fight harder for her. Love that hides is not love. Love that stands tall is the only kind worth having. Adure added, for years, I believed I was too broken for marriage, but Liam showed me that I am not too much or too little. I am just enough. And now, my mother says she prays for more men like him. The single waitress sighed audibly and held her chest. God, when no, even if I am a broken plate, let a man mend me with love. Uncle Buchi then rose with his glass. Look at these marriages, one with wealth, one with little, one with fire, and one with difference of culture. Yet they all shine. I tell you today that marriage is not about the same flavor. It is about choosing your flavor every day. Auntie Amaka added, smiling at her husband. And if you keep choosing, the taste only gets sweeter. They all raised their glasses and toasted to marriage. The couples clinked glasses and their laughter filled the air. The single waitresses almost fell off their seats, sighing in unison. God, when? Even though they were uninvited guests, they had learned a valuable lesson for free. Sweetness in marriage does not come from perfection, but from persistence. Choosing, holding, laughing, forgiving, and loving again, because these four couples proved that no matter how different marriages looked, wealthy, modest, fiery, or interracial, love, when chosen daily, always finds a way back to sweetness. Hi besties, thank you for joining the celebration live with me. What better way to celebrate our 100,000 family than with a story about love? I mean, I felt this deep in my heart and I blushed all through the way I blush when I read your comments. I couldn't have asked for better besties than you all. You are the blessing YouTube gave me and you forever in this journey. Let's cheers to many more stories together, many more laughter, many more lessons, and many more emotional tears to be shared, because NK is here for you all. I am especially grateful to God for the gift of a creative mind and endless inspiration which never stops flowing. Let's continue the party in the comment section, and always remember, I love you all. Yes, every single 100,000 of you all. Until I bring the next story your way. Bye.